So, folks, in 1881, Morris Brown College was founded by the African Methodist Episcopal Church. The dollars that were used to create the institution came from freed people of African descent. And over the decades, Morris Brown graduated a significant number of people, prominent African Americans. In fact, it is the only Georgia HBCU literally founded by black people. But more than 20 years ago, Morris Brown found itself having significant financial woes. As a result, Morris Brown lost its accreditation. There were many efforts to try to save the university, but they still lost the accreditation. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're not an accredited institution, then your students cannot apply and receive federal financial aid. Any of you who watch this show understand how often we've talked about the fact that HBCUs, anywhere from 80 to 90% or higher of an HBCU's budget is based upon students receiving federal aid. But even though they lost their accreditation, they had to also sell off assets, sell off land. Morris Brown actually never closed. Well, last week, there was a big ceremony in Atlanta where they announced that Morris Brown had received its accreditation and they were eligible for students to be able to apply for federal aid, financial aid, and then be able to enroll in the school. Joining us right now is the president of Morris Brown College, Kevin. Glad to have you here. First of all, Dr. Kevin Jones, who's the president. And so, explain to people who don't quite understand when they hear accredited and what all that sort of stuff means. What happened here? What was the accrediting agency that Morris Brown was initially dealing with? And then there was a change that also impacted, that allowed for y'all to now be able to get accredited through another route.
Yes. Well, good evening. Thank you for having me on your show. Morris Brown College, like you mentioned, founded in 1881 by former slaves. It's an institution that has been here in the city of Atlanta for 141 years. We've been educating, pouring into our communities, the original FUBU, for us, by us. Originally, Morris Brown College was accredited by the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, SAC-COC. And a few years ago, when I took the helm as president, I told the Board of Trustees that I felt like this institution should go back to its Christian roots. We were founded in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church, and we've always provided a Christian education, but we got a little bit away from that a little bit. And so we are now accredited by the Transnational Association of Christian Colleges and Schools, a Christian affiliated accreditation agency, approved by the United States Department of Education, just like any other accreditor, and we are now officially accredited. It was a 3-year-long journey, a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, but we were able to show that we are an institution of quality, that we met all the standards required by the United States Department of Education, indicative of the word quality. And we're just very, very excited to make history in this way.
And so for people, again, people who don't quite understand this process, it's a major deal when universities have to go through SAC's accreditation. I mean, you know, and I was talking to one university the other day. They were trying to get me to do some things, and they were like, hey, we finally have funding for this, funding for that. Because in essence, accreditation is like review. It's when you are dating a young man or a young woman and you put on your best behavior. All of a sudden, folks are cleaning stuff. They're bringing in. I mean, you're having to put your best foot forward, because the last thing you want is to either be put on provisional or lose your accreditation, because that's the whole ballgame.
Absolutely. Well, you know, yes, you put on your best behavior, you put on the best foot to show that you are doing what you're supposed to do. However, it's not just a one and done. You know, we are monitored on a yearly basis. They check our audits, they check our yearly reviews, And we're monitored every single year to continue that monitoring process of showing that we are continuously improving our process, procedures, standards, fiscal stability, enrollment, etc. And so Morris Brown, like I said, is accredited by TRACS, an approved accreditor by the United States Department of Education, and we are moving forward with our new accreditation.
So by switching to the accrediting council that deals with religious institutions, does it impact the type of majors you're able to offer, or does it matter?
No, we're still a liberal arts institution. We have STEM programs. We have liberal arts programs. We have our business program, which is our bread and butter. And so the premise of the degrees is not what they're looking for. Every TRACS affiliate school has to have a faith statement proclaiming their Christian faith, and of course, again, providing Christian education. And so Morris Brown, again, founded in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church. We have been affiliated with the AME Church since our founding 141 years ago. And so we were already Christian. We're just getting back into the service of providing a Christian education.
I'm going to go to my panel in a moment for questions. Obviously, there was just a whole lot of things happening. So many people have been pulling for Morris Brown. Just let folks know how dire the situation, though, had gotten for Morris Brown.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. $35 million bankruptcy, $9.5 million to the U.S. Department of Education. We settled a debt with the AME Church for $4.2 million. We literally went from about 3,000 students to about 50 students overnight. And like you mentioned earlier, when we lost our access to accreditation, we lost our access to federal financial aid. So students transferred out and had to leave the institution. We lost a lot of our land. We lost our reputation. We lost so much. But I'm just very proud to say that Morris Brown was able to overcome something that would have closed other institutions forever. And so we're very, very excited that we've made history in this way. From my understanding, we're the first HBCU to rebound after a 20-year hiatus. And being able to continue to educate students over these last 20 years is a testament from God that He's been with us since the beginning. And so we've been through a lot, but we've been able to overcome those negative obstacles, and we're now ready to take the institution to the next level.
It was obviously a big deal last week. There were folks there. I saw one particular video where Pastor Jamal Bryan spoke, and actually they enrolled one of his music folks as a student there at Morris Brown.
Yes. Pastor Jamal Bryan is a friend. He's been a friend of this institution. And he said something very, very instrumental. He said, listen, we've been able to do this, but now we need to build our enrollment. And so he called on all clergy and everyone who was listening to him to send one student to Morris Brown College. And I hope that they meet him like he did, the task that he set forth.
It is, first of all, when you said that, regaining that accreditation what was really a huge deal. Your alumni base, absolutely loyal. In fact, I can't even remember why I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta for something. And y'all happen to have when your fundraisers, and I sort of just walked in just to say hey. And that's another piece. Your alumni base never gave up. These are folks who wanted to see the only HBCU founded by African Americans to remain active and alive.
Absolutely. It's three reasons why Morris Brown never closed. And I say this very proudly and boldly. God has been with this institution. The AME Church has been with this institution. And the best alumni in the world has remained with this institution. They never gave up. And, a lot of people told them, hey, just give up. You guys keep trying. Won't you just give it up? And they never gave up. And because of those three reasons is the reason why Morris Brown College never closed. And the reason why we were able to get our accreditation back.
Absolutely. This here is, I'm going to show in a second some of the video that was, of course, from the news conference that took place on your steps. You also, of course, had significant support from your U.S. Senators, Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff as well. And so you always had folks actually pulling for Morris Brown, but you just had to get over that whole issue with the accreditation. Let me first start with Reverend Jeff Carr. Jeff, go right ahead.
Oh, thanks a lot. Dr. James, first and foremost, man, I want to say congratulations. You've got a string of hits going on since you took over the presidency down there. Morris Brown is absolutely in good hands, going in a great direction. I'm going to tell on myself a little bit with my age. 36 years ago, almost this fall, I had my first performance as a member of the Tennessee State University Aristocratic Bands in the stadium at Morris Brown. That was my first time playing in front of a massive HBCU audience. So I carry that memory with me forever. And that's what HBCU life is really all about. Let me ask you about the accreditation route, because it was a brilliant move to take the steps that you took to get accreditation through tracks. When you think about universities like Oral Roberts University, who may be regionally accredited, or a school like Liberty that may be accredited by SACS, a more traditional space, is this the first step? Is this a long-term move, or will you eventually move toward an organization like SACS, or does it even matter at this point?
At this point, and by the way, let me just say that I did not come up, this was not some brilliant scheme that I came up with regarding going to tracks. I utilized a model that was undertaken by Michael Sorrell at Paul Quinn College. They had some issues with their accreditor, and they decided to go back to their Christian roots. They're also AME, and they went to tracks, and they're doing very, very well. So when I went into my very first interview, I told the Board of Trustees, if you hire me as president, I believe that Morris Brown would have a better fit right now with tracks than with any other accreditor. And so they approved that, of course, unanimously when I got the position, and we decided that process. 2 years ago, the United States Department of Education made a ruling after some investigation that there was no difference between regional accreditors and national accreditors. They all had the same standards. They all had the same rigor. And as a matter of fact, the U.S. Department of Ed no longer uses the words a regional accreditor or national accreditor. All accrediting agencies approved by the U.S. Department of Ed are now known as institutional accreditors. So really, right now, Tracks has been very good to us over these last 3 years. They're a perfect fit for us. Right now, we're focused on growing our enrollment, growing our academic profile, and Tracks is a good fit for us. And right now, we're very, very satisfied with Tracks.
Keep up the great work, man. My wife has a long history in the AME church, so she's excited about seeing the school come back to the level.
Omokongo?
First of all, Dr. James, congratulations. I mean, I was a student in Morehouse in the 90s, and so at that whole AUC life, Morris Brown was, a huge part of it. And so to see it back, it's just really incredible. You talked about our ancestors, you talked about AME, you talked about the beautiful work that the alumni have done, but I just have a question for you. 20 years in the game there, and then you come in 3 years ago with the qualifications that you had, could have gone anywhere. What made you decide that you wanted to come to Morris Brown and lead it on this process towards its original greatness?
Yes. Well, first of all, I honestly believe that God sent me to Morris Brown College. I was at home watching the news in December of 2018, and I saw where my predecessor had resigned. And I literally said out loud, oh my God, I want to be the next president of Morris Brown College. I immediately picked up the phone and I called the 6th district of the AME church. And the way that God worked it out was the chairman of the board's assistant answered the phone. And two complete strangers talked on the phone for 35, 45 minutes. And at the end of that conversation, she said, send me your resume. I'm going to put it directly in the chairman's hands. And about a month later, I got my first interview. 3 interviews later, I was named the interim president of Morris Brown. About a year later, I was named permanent president of Morris Brown College. So, yes, I could have gone other places, but I believe that God sent me to Morris Brown. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. And I'm very, very excited to be the 19th president of Morris Brown College. Again, the best is yet to come. We're just getting started.
Michael.
President James, congratulations again. Let me echo my co-panelists congratulating you for overcoming. I take obviously a lot of pride in Morris Brown, considering I think maybe some of my ancestors may have helped create it. Question about the accreditation. My mother is a proud graduate of Fisk University, and Fisk went through its own challenges several years back. And what is it about accreditation of HBCUs? Is it economic, or is there something else that puts HBCUs in the crosshairs?
Listen, I've had other people asking me that question, and it's a very bold response. Financial stability. HBCUs do the best of educating us. Whenever you see a HBCU getting in trouble, 9.9 times out of 10, it has something to do with finances or fiscal stability. Someone mentioned earlier that these institutions are so heavily driven on tuition revenue. When you look at Harvard and Yale and Georgia Tech or Georgia State, these institutions have multi-million or billion-dollar endowments. HBCUs don't have such endowments. And again, like I said, we are so heavily reliant on tuition, and we have to move from that model. So, again, we do the best of educating us, but we have to do a better job of creating stronger business models, creating other revenue sources where we can get out of the business of begging and just relying on tuition.
And Roland, excuse me, real quick, Dr. James, super quick, Roland. I know you got to get out. Some of the best assets that HBCUs have is their land. So I'm sure with some tough decisions to have to sell off pieces and parcels of the campus or whatever land you own outside of the campus.
Yeah. At the time when we filed bankruptcy, we had no other choice. Now, we are going to utilize the land that we have. You all have seen us in the news. You may have seen that we just signed a deal with CGI Merchant Group and Hilton Hotel. Well, right here at Morris Brown College, we're building our own hotel right here on the campus. It's a Hilton Hotel, $30 million hotel that's going to be tied directly to our hospitality program. Our students are going to learn right in our own hotel on the campus. And so, God said, use what you got. And what we have is location right here in downtown Atlanta. And so we're going to continue to move forward with what we have.
Well,
keep up the good work, Mr. President.
Well, I'll add one thing, and folk, if they want to take issue with this, that ain't my problem. I did a segment of last month on this, Dr. Jones, where I also said that our black institutions, which includes HBCUs, includes black organizations, includes black-owned media, we have also got to embrace professional leadership. What I mean is people with skill set. So what you just described there, you can't have a successful hospitality program unless you have people who know what the hell they're talking about in hospitality. And one of the things that we are seeing, we see ego, we see folk who putting themselves before institutions, and that's also something that I'm real particular with. And I get people who say, oh, you can't say that because you didn't go to HBCU. I've run 3 black newspapers. I've done black media my whole life, and I can tell you there's a continuum in too many of our institutions where we have some nice people who don't need to be in positions of influence because they don't know how to operate at a major level.
Yes, I would agree. We have to make sure that our organizations and our institutions are led by competent leaders who have students at the forefront. And so here at Morris Brown College, we've done a phenomenal job of making sure that we have competent leaders who are helping us to take the institution back to her former glory.
All right, then. Well, look, I was last on the campus. I think John Ossoff had an event there, and we were covering the event there. So we look forward to, and before that, the Quad, which was on BET, was actually shot on the campus of Morris Brown. And so can't wait for you guys to open. Just last question for me. What do you anticipate? So when are you anticipating having your fall class? And any idea how many students you're going to open with?
Yeah, we anticipate having a few hundred students here on campus in the fall, in August. Actually, we're going to start even before then. We're going to have summer school starting in June. And so we have to remember that Morris Brown never closed. We've been educating this entire time, but we're going to have our first graduating class next week on May 21st. And then this summer, summer school, and then the fall.
How many graduates?
We're going to have 5 graduates. 5 graduates. On the 21st, next Saturday.
All right then. Well, Doc, we appreciate it. Congratulations to you and the staff there. Anything that we can do, be sure to let us know. You got my number, so you can text me anytime. And so certainly, and a big congratulations to the alumni because they want to see this day actually happen.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?